seeking forgiveness in front of Supreme Buddhas and accept this with the sadhukar.
Sadhu.
Sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu.
So we have got few questions today. I think 3 questions. I'll read out the questions. They're not very big questions that need a lot of explanations. So we might finish early if you don't have any other questions. Let's see how it goes. I'll read out the questions and I'll read them according to the time I got them. So I first got this question. I would like to ask a sermon again, Thero. Before long, I have heard Venerable Sariputta Thero has various kinds of panya, and I'd like to get more ideas about it, which like how powerful and immense his panya is. Could you explain that for us to increase our Saddha? So the thing is, there's a sermon in the Tripitaka as well. Venerable Sariputta is the Thero or the Sangha Bhikkhu that has the highest level of wisdom, and it is second only to Supreme Buddha. Once Supreme Buddha says, as I can remember, that Sariputta's panya, level of panya, can be only understood by Supreme Buddha himself. Others cannot understand the level of panya he has because he is in the second place. So even the third place cannot understand what kind of a panya he has. So in that sense as well, we don't become suitable individual to comment or to show the level or the boundaries of his panya. And the ultimate goal here, the question is asked in the way to obtain or to develop Shraddha. So Saddha needs to be understood, and we need to understand how Saddha is developed. So that would answer the question anyway. Even we're not talking about the immense level of panya the Venerable Sariputta has. We might be able to develop our Saddha if we know what Saddha means and if we know how to develop Saddha. So Saddha has 2 main wings. One is Amulika Saddha and the other one is Akarvati Saddha. So there we need some Nirukti as well to understand this term. So Amulika, Mula here means the root. Amulika means there's no root for this Saddha. So the core concept is not still known for a person who has the Amulika Shraddha. It is solely based on something like belief. But the Akaravati Shraddha is more dense, more developed. And if a person achieves the Akaravati Shraddha, it is going to last forever until that person attains Nibbana. That means becomes Arihat. In Arihat, it turns into Panya. So Saddha becomes Panya at that point. Saddha bijang tapo vutti. So Saddha is the bija. Bija means the seed. Without the seed, there's no point in talking about the tree or the plant, because it all starts with the seed. So we need the seed. We need the seed until the tree is grown, until Panya is there. Panya is developed. So we have 5 indriya. Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. So each of them is needed until all the indriyas are completed and Arihat state is achieved. So in that sense also, Saddha is a very important thing. So Saddha is something like Akaravati Saddha, not Amulika Saddha, is something like this. So let's say you have never been to England. Let's say you have never been to England, and your friends who come from England, who have seen England, who have touched the land, comes to you and tells you that I was in England last week, and you believe it, but you have not still experienced it. Even though we have not experienced the thing, we believe that it's true. So just like that, when somebody says Supreme Buddha is enlightened, Supreme Buddha has understood the reality of this world, Supreme Buddha has attained Nibbana, we have not yet experienced that, but we believe that it's true. And let's compare the two. Do you have even a minute doubt that there might not be a country called England? Think about it right now. If you have not, think about a country that you have never been to. Do you doubt it? There's a very minute, slight possibility, though, that all of these is a lie. That everyone is lying. There's no country called England. The internet is also lying. There's a maybe a 1 in million possibility that it can be true, that everything is a lie. But that's a big conspiracy theory there. Even that does not cross our mind, even though we have not experienced it, even though everyone may be telling a lie, it has never crossed our mind in that way, because we almost 100% believe that there's a country called England, even though we have not been there. Just like that, when someone achieves Akaravati Saddha, that person is 100% believing, has the belief, but not experienced, even a little bit. Even a little bit of anicca, dukkha, anatta is not understood here. Even the eyes of wisdom is not open. That is why when the person dies, if the person was having only amulika shraddha, the person can go to uh, four realms of four hells afterward, because the person's gati is not defined yet, because eyes of wisdom are not opened yet. It is not confirmed. It is not experienced. The Nibbana, at least a fraction of it, has to be experienced with your own panya for it to become amulika, from it to become akaravati, from amulika. Until that it is amulika, no mula, no root. But just like us believe in England, even though we have not been to England, just like that, we have 100%, almost 100% believe that Supreme Buddha was enlightened, he attained Nibbana, and this is a correct pathway. This is what we should do. This should be our ultimate goal. That's why I am doing these offerings. That's why I am doing these pujas and everything. And I would dedicate my life to end this suffering, end this samsaric suffering, and to attain Nibbana. And that force, that is the seed you need to end this suffering. That is Amolika Shraddha, Saddha. So to develop Amolika Saddha, hearing about how Supreme Buddhas, the qualities of Supreme Buddha, the importance of these Theros, Sariputta Thero, Moggallana Thero, Mahakasyapa Thero, individual qualities of them, all of that helps us to develop our Amulika Shraddha. And when someday the eyes of wisdom are opened, all of that Amulika Shraddha becomes Akaravati Shraddha. You have a root now. Don't need that rootless Shraddha. Actually, even though we say we don't need, it is the one that transforms into Akaravati Shraddha. So Amulika Shraddha becomes Akaravati Shraddha. It transforms to Akaravati Shraddha. And now you are 100% sure, even the person dies, that doesn't change. That is called Sotapanna state. When one achieves this Akaravati Shraddha, then one is ending this suffering samsara, and that's definite. So Akaravati Shraddha is achieved when someone opens up the eyes of wisdom. This is called Avecha Prasad. So I don't know whether it's a Sinhala word or a Pali word, but I'll tell you the meaning of that. I think it's a Pali word. Icha Prasad. Icha, you know what Icha means? Icha means the likeness. What you want is, what do we want is Icha. So when Icha, our means decrease. So our means the reduction. Reduction of Icha leads to Pasad. And we all know how that happens. When someone understands the reality of the world, anicca state, dukkha state, anatta state of this world, that person's icha, or the likeness to this world starts to reduce, and that is called avicca, our icha. And our icha leads to pasado. So that is what kusala mula means. Kusala mula pacca sankhara, sankhara pacca vijnana, vijnana pacca namarupa, namarupa pacca salayatana, salayatana pacca passo, passa pacca vedana, vedana pacca pasado. This is the pasad. Pasad pacca adimukko, adimukko pacca bhavo, bhava pacca jati. So this is this pasado. This pasado, which is achieved when one sees the reality of the world by the reduction of icha, or the likeness to the world, to worldly things, is actually aveccha prasada, and that is akaravati saddha. You have experienced what nibbana is, at least a fraction of it. You know what to do, you know what pathway to take. Everyone knows when when the person opens the eyes of wisdom. That is called akaravati saddha. So to open or to develop Shraddha is the Digha Nikaya. In Digha Nikaya, we have Mahaparinibbana Sutta, we have this Brahmajala Sutta, and all of them explains how deep in Brahmajala Sutta the Supreme Buddha in the Supreme Buddha's explanation about Brahmajala Sutta. When we are reading it, it gives us this idea how the level of wisdom a Supreme Buddha has to articulate this kind of a sutta, telling all the dittis that everybody is having. 63 types of ditti in this world. If somebody is not fully enlightened, that kind of a thing would not happen. Only such an enlightened person would be able to articulate something like this. When somebody is reading Abhidhamma, same idea would occur. When we are reading Mahaparinibbana Sutta, we would be able to touch at least a small little bit of karuna and metta qualities a Supreme Buddha has. How he has dedicated his whole life to end the suffering of all the sentient beings. Because if we think about it, attaining Nibbana is a supreme bliss. That means Anupadisesa Nibbana, ending this life cycle of lives by passing away. And that is, a Supreme Buddha can achieve that as soon as attaining enlightenment. You just need, a Supreme Buddha just need to get rid of the Sankhara. When Sankhara is dropped, Supreme Buddha is able to pass away then and there. Then that is the supreme bliss of Nibbana as well. That means that is the supreme bliss. So he postponed that supreme bliss for 45 years so that he could help other sentient beings to see the same pathway that he took. So that is purely helping others without any benefit, because the benefit is attaining Nibbana. But the metta and karuna's nature of him was what made him to live for another 45 years to attain, to make others also understand this supreme reality. So this has been happening not only in the last lifetime, but during almost all the time that he developed these paramitas or completed these paramitas. I am ending this suffering sansara and I am helping all the sentient beings as well, was the idea of Supreme Buddha, at least the Mahabodhisattva during the paramita time. So that is how we can see Supreme Buddha's life, and we can go through it and how we develop Saddha. So when that is achieved, it is just only one aspect of Saddha. Saddha is, there's another nirukti. It is, if we divide the word, divide it into its original sound forms, it goes like swa adha. Swa means self. Adha means something like, the meaning is something like elimination, removal. So Saddha, the real Saddha, starts with the ability or the understanding or a little bit of, with a little bit of Panna or wisdom. Because when Saddha Indriya is opening up, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya also opens up. All the five opens up. not only one. So when they were dormant before listening to the Akalyana Mitta, but when listening to Akalyana Mitta, all of them become active. So Panya also becomes active. So little bit of understanding about Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta, and why it is not suitable to take it as me, mine, or self, myself, my soul, is what opens up the eyes, or the Saddha, or the Akaravati Saddha. And that is again the recipe to end all suffering, or to eliminate all the sanyojana. As soon as this is seen, one would eliminate Sakkaya Ditti, Vichikicha, and Silabbata Paramasa. Then walk his or her way towards the last three Manu Uddhacha, ending this suffering samsara. So that is what Saddha means. So Saddha is very important because Saddha helps us to end this suffering samsara. So if we think about various types of people who are practicing this Arya pathway, there's Indriya Nanata, and all of us starts by becoming either a Saddhanusari or a Dhammanusari. Saddhanusari is just like the person who believed that there is this the country called England. That is 100% belief. But that person believes nobody can say otherwise, even though everybody is saying no, that is not the case. There's no country called England. It is also all a lie made to trick you. That person is not believing that. That person firmly believes there's a country called England. Just like that, Saddhanusari firmly believes that there's a country called England. Saddhanusari firmly believes that there's this Dhamma that can eliminate the suffering sansaric journey. So again, Dhammanusari is able to see it through Dhamma that he also has not achieved, not at least not the Sotapanna state, but he also believes, because listening to Dhamma, that person, the first person, believes in Supreme Buddha, and the individual person. But Dhammanusari person believes in Dhamma. He is more focused on Dhamma, but he has not understood it fully. But depending on the Dhamma, the quality of Dhamma, the supreme quality of Dhamma makes him understand that it is the truth. But he has not still understood it fully to the state of an Sautapana. So from these two stages, when somebody achieves the Sotapanna state, that person, those kind of individuals fall into Seka Patipada, or now onto the Arya Magga. That has three categories. Again, Shraddha Vimukta, Kaya Sakhi, and Dittapatta. Shraddha Vimukta is again, you have now seen what is Dhamma, the reality of Dhamma. You have seen it. You have opened the eyes of wisdom. Now the Amolika Saddha became Akaravati Saddha for all of them, as well as, and also the one who has achieved this state of Sotapanna is now going in the pathway with a confirmed belief. Now he knows it, but he has not attained an Arihat state yet. But he 100% believes that what Supreme Buddha told him to do, if that is followed without any um, shortcomings, without any uh, problems, if you could follow it as said, then you would be able to achieve Nibbana. So that is why there's those kind of people sometimes becomes a monk, get ordained, and then they follow the practices without changing even a single thing. And when a cake is prepared, what we do is one can prepare the cake after going through the recipe. You go through the recipe, you understand what is said, you understand the logic behind it, you understand why this is mixed with that and this with that, and you do it, you know how to do it, and you know why the temperature is set to something like 200 or 150 degrees Celsius, and you know why you have to keep it in the oven for 1 hour, you know what is happening inside, you know all the things, and but still you have not started doing it. And there's another person, and you don't get the recipe, but the the person who is asking you to make the cake gives you directions. Now you have to put this much of flour, now put this much of sugar and this much of eggs, and mix it. So every step is guided by somebody else, and you don't know what is the outcome as well, but we don't know what is the outcome as well, and but we are doing it. So we mix it, do it, we put it in the oven, and we get a something something that is soft and very has a very distinct smell, very delicious kind of a smell. So both of them, the other person also knows everything because he has already gone through it, and he also prepares the cake, and both of them eat and taste the cake. If the methodology is identical, the outcome is also identical, so the taste is also identical. The difference is one knew what he was making, the other one did not know what he was making. So when the cake is tasted, it was the same taste. So just like that, Shraddha Vimukta, even after understanding the reality of the word, opening of the eyes of wisdom, follows the same pattern of belief with 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 a root this time until the Arihat state. But the Dittapata, he knows he knows what needs to be done. He knows the logic behind it. He knows the pathway, and then he follows and attains Nibbana. So the Kayasaki is something different. He goes through the Dhyana pathway. So the Dhyana pathway, he experiences it, the Nibbana, through his Nama Kaya, or the Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vinyan. That is what he said as Navanupuraka Samapatti, or the Nirodha Samapatti. So one achieves Nirodha Samapatti and understands the Nibbana, experiences the Nibbana even before attaining Nibbana. That means even before uh, passing away. That is not the real Nibbana, because even Nirodha Samapatti is not the real Nibbana, but we get a glimpse of it, what it looks like. So that is Kayasaki. So these are the three sekas, and at the end you have two, Ubbato Vimukta and Prajna Vimukta. So that is the Aseka level. So these are the three stages. So Marga Anugamika has 2 stages, and then the followers, or Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami stages have 3 stages, 3 types of individuals, and at the last stage, Arihat stage, has 2 different patterns. So these when we go through this, we know what Saddha means. Saddha means, in a way, something like belief. But this is not just belief. It is not just blindly believing in something, but something with understanding. But it starts with the blind belief, and it changes into a solid belief, because this is the reality. Even though we know it or not, when we dig in and when we start understanding, the belief becomes the reality. We start to really accepting it without just a blind belief. So to develop this, most of the time the people with Saddha, people with a prominent Saddha Indriya, would want to do more and more, want to spread more and more, because that is the nature of Saddha. That person don't like fights, hurting each other, saying harsh things to each. That is not attained by a person who is full of Saddha. That person like the cooling, calming, very soft and very kind words. They like to be united, not separated. They like to see a united community. They like to stay in a community like that. That is why those types of people, when they achieve anagami state, would be born in Aviha Brahma plane. So because they like this company, they like the company. For example, it was during the Supreme Buddha's time, and he thought that he would end this suffering sansaric journey when he dies. He knew that he was anagami, but he thought that there's no attachment to anybody or anything in my mind. So at least at the end of this lifetime, I would attain Nibbana and end this suffering samsara. But unfortunately, he was born in Aviha. And he recalled, as a Brahma, he recalled, why? What is the reason? What is the problem? Why didn't I attain Nibbana and end this suffering samsara, but still became a Brahma as an Anagami? What is the reason? Then he understood that he liked the Jetavanarama, he liked the company of Supreme Buddha and Bhikkhu Sangha. So this liking led him to be born in that Brahma plane. So that is the nature of Saddhadika. So Saddhadika likes the company of Aryas, likes the company of Dhamma, the ones who practice Dhamma. So that is the nature. So if somebody is believing and listening to Supreme Buddha, Supreme Dhamma, and Supreme Sangha, and doesn't like to change even a little bit of what is said. So if that is the nature of somebody, then he needs motivation for that to keep up. Or if that person wants to stick on to that routine of doing as exactly said by Supreme Buddha, then you need motivation for that. That is why we need Saddha. We need to develop the Saddha Indriya. That is why we need to read and listen to things that would develop our Saddha, so that we there's this emotion that develops, and that emotion would bring us to a state where we are able to do as said, without questioning, without forcing it. It naturally comes because we believe 100% what Supreme Buddha tells to us to do is right, and it is what it is said with utmost kindness and metta. So that is what needs to be understood when we are practicing sattva. So if you have any questions regarding that, you can send it to the chat, and we'll move on to the second one until that is done. Right. So this is the second one. I understand that the Gotrabu stage is when the lineage of existence changes. I am curious about this. I am especially curious about what generally changes. Lineage of existence of changes means. So, for example, the person's worldview, change in perception of one's own existence changes. So the thing is, this is in Abhidhamma, and in Abhidhamma, this cannot be experienced by us. This is a actually, as we can say, when we develop Shraddha, we just like we believe in England, and we don't have any doubt whether there's no country or there's a country, whether there's no country as England, as because we don't have any solid evidence to prove otherwise or say otherwise, that there's no country called England. Just like that, when we understand the Supreme Dhamma, we don't get any solid evidence. There's at least not a solid, we don't get any, at least a weak evidence to say that this is not anicca, this is not dukkha, this is not anatta. We understand fully that the world is anicca, dukkha, anatta, and the Supreme Dhamma is true and pure, and it is we are able to attain nibbana, and nibbana is real, and that much is fully understood when somebody is attaining the sotapanna state or opening up the eyes of wisdom. Even before that, even in Akaravati, Amulika Shraddha, some people, even at that stage, it is not going from after death, it can change, but at least in that lifetime, he firmly believes that it is the truth. So, Abhidhamma is only understood by Supreme Buddha. Even Sariputta Thero cannot experience these things. The Chittakshana, Chittaviti, nothing is experienced. But when he and other monks and even the lay one, even the Sakers, Sotapannas, Sakadagamis, Anagamis, of course Arihats, when they go through this, what is said by the Supreme Buddha in Abhidhamma, they understand it fully because they understand the mechanism. Through the mechanism, they are able to understand that this must be correct. This is very methodical. This is very realistic. This is very understandable. But physically, experiencing it physically through the wisdoms like anavarana jnana is not something that others can do. Just like when we listened about what Nirodha Samapatti means, even though we have not attained or achieved that state of Nirodha Samapatti, we just get this idea what it would look like. There's a small understanding about it. Oh, this the Nirodha Samapatti would look like something like this. But it is not the 100% correct understanding about Nirodha Samapatti because we have not experienced it yet. But we understand what it would look like. Just like that, when we are thinking about this Abhidhamma, this Chittakshana, Chittaviti, we have not experienced it and we would not be able to as well. But we are certain that it works. It is real. So this Gotrabu stage is something we are not able to experience. It happens to us at some stage. It happens at 4 stages when somebody becomes Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arihat. So Gotra is Bhu means broken. Gotra means Gati. So you know what Gati means? Gati is the state. So the lay state is broken to Sotapanna state. So Sotapanna state is broken to Anagami, Sakadagami state. Sakadagami state is broken to Anagami state. Anagami state is broken to Arihat state. So that is what Gotrabu means. Upachara, Parikarma, Upachara, Anuloma, Parikarma, Gotrabu. There are four instances. I can't remember the pattern, what comes after what, but these are the 4 words. Upachara, I think it's Anuloma, Upachara, Parikarma, Gotrabu. So then the Sotapanna state. So this cannot be understood by us. We don't feel anything. We might feel that we understood Dhamma. That's correct. Anicca is correct. Dukkha is correct. Anatta is correct. And the world is full of dukkha. And what needs to be done is to get rid of this suffering samsara and attain nibbana. That much would be understood in a conscious level. But we don't know what happened underneath. It's something like this. We have a phone, a mobile phone, and in the hardware level, what is happening is 1010. It is the digital code that is processed in an electrical pulse as electrical pulses. So we are not able to understand that. Then there's the back-end software and front-end software. Back-end software creates the link between the electrical signals and the software. And the front-end software creates the link between the back-end software and the user interface. And user interface creates the link between us and the phone. So what we are able to experience is the user interface. We are not able to experience 1010. So when we want to open up an application in the digital device, we just tap or click on that icon, and a whole lot of things are happening inside the computer or the digital device. But we don't know any of that. What happened, when it happened, and what is the nature of it? Nothing is understood. Just like that, when we are dealing with the physical objects, when we are listening to Dhamma, we are dealing with physical objects. You are just listening to a sound coming from a speaker, looking at a TV or a LED screen. That is the interaction between the two physical structures, and that is experienced as, oh, I understood what he is saying. That much of understanding at the user interface level would be there, but we don't know what is happening underneath in the Gotrabu stage and everything. We don't know. This is like 1010. It cannot be understood by us. Supreme Buddha's wisdom should be there to understand that level of uh, interpretation. That level of interpretation needs Supreme Buddha's understanding. So, but we can understand the logic. We can understand how 1010 works. We can understand the logic, but we don't know when it happened. If we master the hardware and microchip technologies and whatever the fields that we have to go into understand these kind of things, we can understand it. We can understand how we can learn it from others in these universities, that how it works, but we don't know when it worked. Even an engineer who is creating these chips doesn't know what went through where, what kind of a signal 1010 went through where in that mobile phone, even though he made it. That much of understanding is not there when we are referring to physical things. But when it comes to the mind, it is more sophisticated. So it is harder for us. It is impossible for us to understand that aspect of our mind. So what is happening when this happens? When the Gotrabu stage is passed, that changes one's viewpoint. In easy words, we can say Sakkaditti, Vichikicha, and Silabbata Paramasa is gone. That is the nature of a person who has attained Sotapanna state just after Gotrabu, or, or the breaking of the Gotra. So what Gotra was broken? Le Gotra was broken, becoming a Sotapanna. So at the end of Sakadagami, Sotapanna stage is broken for someone to become Sakadagami state. So what is lost? The Kamaraga and Patiga, half of it, or the we can say Klesha Kama, Vastu Kama was gone. It was eliminated. And when someone achieves the Anagami stage, again the Sakadagami Gotra was broken, attaining Anagami. And what actually lost, if we want to understand from the things that if we want to uh, understand understand what happens from the things that we are able to understand, we can say Kamaraga and Patiga is gone. So it's the same thing in a more sophisticated way. Again, Arihat stage is achieved when the Anagami Gotra is broken, and Gotrabu happens there as well. And when achieved, it is called, what is lost is Kamaraga, Ruparaga, Mana, Udacha, everything is gone. So all the 10 Sanyojanas are gone when this process happens. That is the 1010 level. What we see is my Kamaraga and Patiga is gone. My Ruparaga is also now gone. My Aruparaga is also gone. That is the user interface level. That is the level we can understand. I think that's clear to you. So there was another question. How should I observe Sankhara? I read the scriptures. Thus says you should ask someone who is good at practicing vipassana this. How does a meditator observe Sankhara? So Sankhara should be observed as anicca dukkha anatta. Sabbe sankhara anicchati. Yada panyaya pasati. Atani bindati dukke. Esa maggo visuddhya is what we need to practice. Sankhara is, we can say, everything is Sankhara. Now, every action is Sankhara. Now, let's say Sankhata. What is Sankhata? Sankhata is what is created because of Sankhara. We know the word is Sankhatang, Paticca Samuppanna, Kaya Dhamma, Vaya Dhamma, Nirodha Dhamma, Viraga Dhamma. So, in that, first what was said is the word is Sankhatang. So, everything. What is everything? Eyes and images, ears and sounds, smells and the nose, then the tongue and the taste, body and touches, mind and thoughts. There are 12 components. All of these is everything. This is one way of explaining it, one classification. Again, we can say Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. That's everything. So we can have this we have various classifications. We can use the Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Patavi, Akasa, Vijnana. That is also everything. So there are various different ways of seeing and everything. So everything is the world. Everything is called the world. The world is Sankhata. So in other words, world is something that is created. Eyes are things that are created. Images are things that are created. And it goes on until thoughts. So everything are created. And the act of creating it is called Sankhara. So Sankhara has a very vast area if we expand it. Sankhara is the creation of a mind, a thought, that fine level is also Sankhara. But creation of a house, an aeroplane, a multi-storied building, that is also Sankhara. So creation, because what is created is a Sankhata. The house is a Sankhata. A mind, a thought is a Sankhata. And everything else, everything that is there in this world is a Sankhata. So the act of creating it is Sankhara. And Sankharas has a Sankhara dukkha. So Sankhara does not happen automatically. It needs a force. So putting force, applying force has a dukkha state, because creating something, even thinking is tiresome. There's no need to talk about what happens when we are constructing a huge building. If thinking itself is tiring, we know what happens when we are constructing a building. So from thinking to constructing worlds, societies, communities, all of it is Sankhara. And Sankhara, what when somebody, or what Supreme Buddha says when you should ask somebody to how to observe Sankhara. Oh, the term used here is how to observe Sankhara. Yeah. How to observe Sankhara. We have to know the scope of Sankhara. What is Sankhara? So everything, we have to know that everything is Sankhara at first. And when we know that everything is Sankhara, we have to know there are fine Sankhara and rough Sankhara. Sankhara that is done by us, and Sankhara that are done by others. So there are various kind of Sankharas. So all of them needs to be seen as anicca, dukkha, anatta, and that is how to observe Sankhara. So first, it is when we see them as anicca, we have to see the paticca. When you are seeing the paticca, we see that Sankhara is a result of causes and not our wanting. So that is what we have been already discussing throughout this time, that Sankhara needs to be seen as paticca. So when you see Sankhara as something created out of a dependent origination, that is observing Sankhara correctly. We have to see Sankhara as dukkha. So we know that Sankhara has a dukkha aspect of it, and that is abbe Sankhara dukkhati. So that is dukkha nature of Sankhara, and that is also needs to be observed. And when we are observing Sankhara, that is also an aspect. And sabbe dhamma anattati. So every Sankhara falls under dhamma as well, and that is of anatta nature. Why? Think about all the Sankhatas that we have created throughout this sansar. Nothing has lasted. Everything has deteriorated and got destroyed. The houses, communities, the greatest civilizations, even our thoughts, they break now, then and there when it was created. Now also the thoughts are created and broken. And just the Nama Gota is going to the Nama realm, which can be retrieved. But something created does not last. It ends up in Viparinama. So that is the pointless nature, essenceless nature. And Sankhara is also then anatta, of anatta nature. So what we have to observe when we are observing, after understanding the depth of Sankhara, what Sankhara are, we have to see Sankhara as anicca, dukkha, and anatta. When we are doing that, then it is the real observation. It is the correct way to observe Sankhara. So we have different ways of doing this. We can we can do that depending on the instance. So if it is an instance where we have, let's say, we are going to purchase something, we are going to create something, construct something, prepare something beautiful. Let's say we are going to landscape our garden. We are going to sweep the floor of our house. We are going to clean it, vacuum it, whatever the thing. These are rough things, not fine things like creating a thought. These are rough things. When we are doing it, since we know the principle that sabbe sankhara anicchati, you have to know, even though I want it or I don't want it, this sankhata which is created and the sankhara which I do to create the sankhata, both are anicca. So there's no controllability, in the sense this is a paticca process. This is created out of causes. For example, when we get angry, so let's say we see this dirty room that is full of dust. what comes to our mind, or a mind is created because we know what is, we have conditioned in a way that we don't like this dirty room. So it comes to our mind, and then we process to sweep the floor. So depending on what we have experienced, we decided on what to do next. So it can be changed. You might feel that no, if I wanted, I could have stopped. That is the illusion of this world where we feel like the Sankhara is controllable. Controllable nature of Sankhara is due to the illusion. Why is this illusion created? Because this Paticca process is a very integrated process where everyone seems to synchronize so well that it creates a illusional controllability. But it was not because of the controllability, but because of the the great synchronization. Just like when we see a ring of fire, when a ball of fire is rotated, just like that, the controllability is a ring of fire, which is an illusion. So it is there, but we have to know this is Sankhara is anicca. It is happening because all the causes in the system is aligning together. And the Sankhata which is created is also has the same, is having the same effect. So I'll go through example because it might this bit is a little bit uh, has a little bit of depth to it. For example, I think we have already discussed this example, this type of example. So if we want to turn on the let's say turn on a bulb, so we that is a Sankhara, turn on the bulb. That Sankhara has three parts: thinking of turning on the bulb, doing the act of turning on, and the bulb lighting up. These are three Sankharas because all created different Sankhatas at the end. So the bulb which is not lightened up, got lightened up, that is Sankhara. That is act of changing the Sankhata into something else, which needs action. And the action of bulb turning on, bulb lighting up is a Sankhara. So that Sankhara has a lot of causes. It needs electricity, it needs the wiring to be intact, it needs the filament to be intact. Everything should be intact in order for the bulb to light up. So that is causes, not because of wanting. There's zero controllability there because turning on can happen from whatever the way. If it turns on, even if you are not turning it on, if the switch is turned on from some way, the bulb would open, bulb would light up if all the causes are aligning. If the switch is turned on and if even one of the causes are not aligning, the effect would not occur. So it is just controlled by all the causes and not our wanting. That is the important message here. So we have understood that Sankhara, the Sankhara of turning on or bulb lighting up is not according to our wish. Or it was done by the synchronization of all the causes. So that level has sorted out. We have sorted out that level. So it's anicca. So again, us going to the switch to turn it on. So that level is also of anicca nature, because that is also Sankhara. If Sabbe Sankhara anicchati, then that level also should be anicca. So how do we tackle that level? Our system, our body has a lot of systems. They should work in integration. Our body should work. We should be able to walk. Our joints should work. Nervous system should work. Brain should work. Mind should be integrated with the body. Everything, millions of causes are there when it comes to our body. If that did not occur, we would not be able to go towards the switch, and we would not be able to turn on the switch. That is not possible if that did not happen. So that then we have to understand that, again, the same principle that we have used before. So there's this the illusion that occurs because of we feel that we are able to control, but it is happening because all the causes are aligning. So joint should work, nerves should work, everything should work, and then the effect occurs. We are able to lift our hand, we are able to go towards the switch, and we are able to turn on the switch. So that is also anicca. We have to understand that is also anicca. So then, and not working according to our expectation or wanting. So then, what is the thing with the mind, the thought that comes to us when we think that we have to turn on the bulb? That is also because all the causes are aligning. So we don't get the idea to turn on the bulb right now. It is it happened at that moment because of the external changes. For example, what led to our thinking that we should turn on the light is because of the darkness. It can be because of the darkness, it can be something someone has said. So it is the passa, touch of one of the two items. Either it can be the images or images and eyes, it can be the sound and ears, it can be the smell and nose, it can be the tongue and taste, it can be the touch and body, it can be the mind and thoughts. So it can be the eyes and images. So you are seeing the sight of darkness, and the thought that comes after that, I should turn this light on. And before that, let's say, did not, and it was a very bright day, and it was at noon. That thought does not cross your mind. It can cross if somebody says, even if it is not darkness, if there's no darkness, even if the room is perfectly lit, somebody says, please, can you turn the light on? That is the combination of ears and sounds that triggered you to turn that thought in your mind, that thought in our mind. So if that is also not occurring, then let's say there's this smell that is coming from some dark end of the room, and you are perfectly normal with the you are perfectly okay with the lighting that is there in the room right now, but there's this dark corner in the room, and you smell something, and you want to know what is that smell, so you need more light. So we go and turn that light on, and that thought also came because the nose and the smell touched together. And let's say there's a little bit of darkness, and but we don't feel like turning the light on, but we have to taste something, and we have to know what is there on the plate. So we feel like we have to see what is there on the plate properly. So the taste might lead up to, or let's say, we we are tasting something, and we need to know what we are tasting, so we need light. So that triggered that thought. It can be when we are stepping into a room, something sharp is touching on the sole of the feet, and we feel like what might that be, so we have to see. So then it triggered the thought. So it can be solely a thought. Now I have to turn this light on. It can be either way. The Sankhara, that is why it says the Sankhara, the result, the reason for Sankhara, if we are thinking only just one reason, that is Passa. So Rupa, the reason for Rupa are the Satara, or the four bhutas, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Patavi. That is the reason for Rupa. Reason for Vedana is touch. Reason for Sanya is again touch. Reason for Sankhara is again touch. And that is what we have explained right now. Touch is the reason for the Sankhara, that thought that was created at that point to turn on the light is a result of Passa or touch and not the wanting. So we thought that because I wanted it, I went. No, it's actually the illusion that the Patisampada creates that created the effect. Because if you, even though we want it or not, we will not be able to go. We will not be able to think in that way if our mind is agitated. If our mind does not or integrated properly. Let's say we are having, if somebody is having a mental disease, the ability to think properly is not there. Even though we want it or not, we would not be able to think that way. So it is the causes aligning together to create the effect. And the Sankhara, the cause for Sankhara is the touch, and the cause for Vijnana is the Namarupa. Namarupa leads to Vijnana, touch leads to Sankhara, or Passa leads to Sankhara. So that's what we should remember when we are observing Sankhara. So that's the answer for that question. So that's the end of all the questions that you have sent me this week. So if you have any other questions regarding today's sermon or anything, then we can discuss them, because we have like 30 minutes. And if we don't, then we can end the sermon. There's something in the chat. So my note: for practicing Anapanasati, we could view our body and outer world, Sankhara, which are organized through Passa, plus 3 types of Sankhara, including our mind, reaction, body reactions generate Sankhara as Anicca Dukkha Anatta in our daily lives. Yeah, there's no problem in that. For practicing Anapanasati, we could view our body and outer world, Sankhata, which are recognized through Passa, plus 3 types. I don't know what plus 3 types means of Sankhara. I think the 3 types that we have already mentioned, but that is not something in the Tripitaka or Tripitaka or a Pali text. That is what a template actually I created for my easiness to explain. So yeah. So that is, yeah, you can use that because it makes it easy to understand that in each and every part it works the same way, from the denser aspect to the finer levels of mind. So when we are applying it to the external world, it is easier to understand. And when you are applying it to our body, it is a little bit harder. But when you are applying it to our mind, it is more harder. So when explaining, I divided it into three sectors, because to make it more clear that it's the same for each and every stage. So yeah, you can do that Anapanasati in that way, because Anapanasati is just a template of how to get rid of, how to do asasasa and pasasasa. So we can use that in various ways, and depending on what we practice or what our mind tells us, or in other words, what our Indriya Anatta is. It decides what kind of a practice we are going to do. Nama Rupa in Paticcasamuppada process is also considered as Dhamma. Yeah. Yes. Dhamma means the way it is. It might be, it is the translation that comes to my mind. So there's a very, 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 very good translation when it comes to Sankhara. But in English, what crosses my mind is the way it is, the way it works, like something like that. If that's all, then we can end today's discussion. Mr. Tushan, it's up to you.
Teruvan Sarna, everyone. Is there any more questions for today's sermon for Thero? I think, Thero, we can finalize. I think there's one more question. The way it is equals mechanism.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Mechanism, the real mechanism of the world is Dhamma. When it comes to Buddha Dhamma, so in other Dhammas, Deva Dhamma, everything is Dhamma. So the mechanism of becoming that is Dhamma. So if we drop the Buddha, Dhamma means the mechanism.
Yeah. I think there are no more questions on the chat box. Thero, we can do the Anumodana if you will be able to kindly do Anumodana for us. That will be very good.
Yeah. So I before doing the Anumodana, I think we have another Anumodana after this. So I could not inform you, so I'm informing you right now. So after this the discussion ends, we'll start the this Zoom meeting again with me, Mr. Tushan, and I think one of the devotees who have done the dana in the Satipatthana Retreat Center. So she knows. So three of us can we meet again in the same Zoom ID, so we can have that just after this.
Sure, Thero.
Yeah, sure. So then we'll go on with the Anumodana. So today we have been discussing about the questions that you have got throughout this past week when you are practicing the Arya Dhamma. So I'll encourage more for you to practice the Arya Dhamma in a more practical way, getting more practical questions when you are doing your day-to-day work. The instances when the raga occurs, when the dosa occurs, when the moha occurs, and when you are trying to apply the Arya Dhamma, how it helped you to get rid of this the problems or the suffering, and how it did not work. What should we do to get rid of them effectively would be the focus, should be the direction of our discussion. So it would be more helpful for everyone to attain Nibbana, because in the end, Nibbana means Ragakya, Dosakya, and Mohakya. So with that small note, we'll do the Punyanumodana. So we have been discussing the correct way to practice Arya Dhamma through the questions that you have sent, and we have been discussing it for more than one and a half hours, and the amount of meritorious power that is generated through these acts are immeasurable, because Dhamma, the reality, the anicca dukkha anatta nature, when we think about it, when we process that in our minds, that is the highest meritorious deed that one can do. So we have been doing that for quite some time, and the amount of meritorious power that was generated is immeasurable. And with that immeasurable meritorious power, may everyone get the perfect background to understand the Arya Dhamma, meeting a Kalyana Mitta, opening up the eyes of wisdom, ending the suffering sansara, completing the Aryattangika Magga. Until that moment, may everyone get fulfilled with life, refreshness, power, comfort, and wisdom, ending this suffering sansara by attaining Nibbana. Accept this blessing with sadhukara.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
So now we are going to send or transfer the merits we have generated throughout this sermon to the ones who have helped us throughout this sansaric journey, the deceased relations of us, the immediate relations that we have lost throughout this, in this lifetime, and as well as the previous lifetimes, and the ones who helped us, our parents, in this lifetime as well as the previous ones, the teachers, the ones who gave us jobs, the ones who helped us in various ways, the ones who were around us, our spouses, children, and the neighbors, relations, all of them, and the ones who made our lives easy, the ones who constructed our houses, roads, the community, and everything. So let us remind all of them with the with very with a very kind and heart of metta, and also the ones who were hurted and harmed by our actions throughout this sansara. uh, since we did not know what is right and what is wrong throughout this sansaric journey, we might have done various unwholesome things towards the worldly beings, and let us acknowledge our faults and let us think about them as well in this special occasion, and also the ones who are helping us to have this event, the Dhamma discussion, the ones, the neighbors and the deceased relations of those, um, and the deceased relations of those ones who are helping for uh, this Dhamma discussion, ones who are behind the scene, ones who are paying for this, paying for the spending money for the maintenance of these temples, and the ones who are spending or maintaining and or donating for the internet connections and devices and everything, and the electricity bills and everything. So let us remind all of them as well. Without them, this would not be, we would not be able to have this Dhamma discussion. So let us remind them as well with very kind and hearts of metta, and also the ones in the realms of gods and the ones in the planes of Brahma and all the sentient beings in the universe as well. Let us spread them this meritorious power to them as well, regardless of wherever they are in this universe, irrespective of their current state of being. May they rejoice on these meritorious deeds, being happy and delighted about these Dhamma discussions, the meritorious deeds that we are doing throughout this time period. And if they are in miserable places, may they refrain from doing sins. May they replace those sins with meritorious deeds, and may they lead happy lives, ultimately understanding the reality of the world, attaining the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Until that, may they lead happy lives full of life, refreshness, power, wisdom, and comfort, and ending the suffering sansara by meeting a Kalyana Mitta, opening up the eyes of wisdom. Accept this, um, accept this with a sadhukara, transferring these merits to them with metta and kindness.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So we'll end the Punyanamodana by, and I'm going to recite this Pali stanza with blessing you. Abhivadana Silis Nichang Vadhapuchayano Jataro Dhamma Vadanti Ayuano Sukambalang Ayurarogya Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Mevacha Ato Nibbana Sampatti Iminate Samijatu. May everyone attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Theruvan Saranai.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu.
Ilavantam gunavantam punyakettam anuttaram dullabheda mayaladda vandidundam sundara sariputari theranang agadam paripatiya saddha sila dayavasam buddha puttan namah. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, Theruvan Saranai everyone.
Theruvan saranai.
Theruvan
Everyone
Saranai.
Saranai.
Theruvan saranai Swamin Wahanse.
Theruvan Saranai Mahatya.
එයාද මේ
අර නෝනා මම හිතන්නේ ගියා මේ වුණා ලොග් අවුට් වුණා ආයිත් මම හිතන්නේ වෙයි.
හරි.
හරි. So we can start with the Punya Anumodana, I think, because
Sad.
yeah. Wait. So I wanted to ask whether how many years have passed after his passing away?
He passed away